already know who is this. I am Carlos, the Colombian guy. Welcome to my YouTube channel once again. What's good, guys? Welcome to another episode of my YouTube channel. Y'all know, besides the updates, besides the news, I also like to bring topics that I can give my humble opinion about. And in this case, I'm gonna speak about the current situation, the current safety situation in Colombia, because I've been getting a lot of questions like, if it's safe to travel to Colombia now, it's safe to go to Cali, it's safe to go to Medellin, it's safe to go to Cartagena. And like I say, I will give my humble opinion. I will explain to you guys what's going on and what's been happening in the country lately, because it's been a lot of drama everywhere you take a look in the country. But long story short, let's speak about this. Let's jump in the video. One of the reasons why I decided to do this video is because I've been getting this question a lot. It's safe to go to Colombia right now. It's safe to travel to Cali right now. It's safe to go to Medellin right now. It's safe to visit Cartagena, Colombia. What's going on in Colombia? What's going on in Cali? What's going on in Medellin? And I think I had the question, I had the answer for all of that, fellas. Well, first of all, we had to get back to 7 days ago when all the craziness started in Colombia. But let me clarify that Colombia is a crazy country and a lot of crazy things happen every day in this country. Like, this is kind of like, part of the game. I'm not trying to normalize what's going on in Colombia, but this is something that we grew up watching with. 10 days ago, like we thought was going to be like, a regular day in the country, but we got up with the sad news that Cali, Colombia, which is one of my favorite cities in my beautiful country, a lot of attacks that were setting up over there by an illegal groups. I don't want to mention them. You guys should know who they are. If you Google what happened in Cali, Colombia in June 10, they will tell you what happened, other bigger news, and you guys will be able to read about who did, all this attack or who apparently did it. You know what I mean? But also, last year around June 10, they delete a really important member of this group, and they claim that was one of the reasons why they were setting up all these attacks. In the Colombians, groups, back illegal groups mentality, narcos, they grew up, like there is a lot of codes, like, and I'm not part of none of that, but like as a Colombian that you are, like you grew up hearing things like that. And at some point of your life, you're going to know somebody who is in the business or who is related to somebody who is in the business or the family member or something. But long story short, there is a lot of codes. There is a lot of street wars, street games that they really respect. And, like they say they did it because, like just to honor him because he got deleted by the armies, by the police on June 10 of last year. Around, like I say, around the same time, on June 10, he got deleted. They're trying to like remind him by doing that, which is something like, I'm not agree with, because almost like 7 people, they lose their life, and a lot of people also got hurt in Cali, Colombia. But like I say, this is not something like we never have seen before, and, let me clarify, I don't try to normalize, what's going on in the country and what's been going on for decades now, because Colombia, if you don't know this, and I had the opportunity, I've been saying in a lot of my videos, Colombia's been in a war for almost 70 years now, that it never stopped. Once, we think like, oh, we're doing great, these people are coming down, the country's doing well, great, they came back again with something new. And the reason why they do that is because when they start, the guerrillas, when they start, they were claiming like, oh, we just want a better Colombia, all of this and that. But on the way, unfortunately, because they are in the forest, they meet up, they start working with some narcos, the bosses, and they kind of like forget about the purpose, about how the beginners, that stay on that game, like they forgot the purpose, how they start. So long story short, like there is a lot of political problems in town that is also, affecting the country, affecting, the cities, all of that. But like I say, this has been around since I came to the world. I know what's been going on in Colombia. thank God, I was born in the city of Cartagena because my mother, especially my mother, she's from a war zone. But thank God she emigrated to Cartagena, Colombia. And, I had the opportunity, thank God, to be born in the city of Cartagena and had I never experienced with something like that. But a lot of Colombians, that's what they've been going to. A lot of them, they live unfortunately, in zones that's what they had to experience. That's what they've been going through, all of that, the families, their parents, and that's kind of like part of their life. This is something no new that people shouldn't be. Of course, you get surprised when you see things like that. But for us, it's like, okay, this is like another day in Colombia. It's sad because some people lose their life. It's horrible, this is heartbreaking. But it's like this is part of culture. Well, I'm not trying to like put that on the culture, but this is part of the history. This is not something new that like we never seen before. And like I said, this is like super sad, fellas. And for those who don't know, like Colombia, that it's easy for them just to sit down, how I am now, and just, be judging the country. Oh, Colombia is back on the narco times, all of that. I don't think it's like that, like we've been doing way better than before. And I can't argue or I can't have a conversation with somebody who don't know about our culture, about our history, because if you read about Colombian history, you should know like we're doing way better than before. In Cali, Colombia has been a city that always has been unfortunately affecting for those type of behaviors. And I don't try to, like put some ugly words because, I don't want, the YouTube my video as a, something offensive. But Cali has been, like with all these type of behaviors, and also the towns around Cali, they've been with all these type of behaviors. The most important port in Colombia is the Buenaventura port, which is close to Cali, Colombia. Cali is the capital of Colombia. The capital of Valle del Cauca. Valle del Cauca is an state in Colombia. But long story short, the city, there is a city over there, with the best port. And people over there, like it just like the city is very poor. You don't see like, like a lot of infrastructure over there. And it's not because the government, like they don't want to do things with people over there. It's just like those towns, they've been taken over, by the bosses. But the narcos, like they've been there for a while, and, other illegal groups that they just been, fighting back and forth. So like I say, people over there around Cali and in Cali, they know, what I'm talking about, and they know, what's going on. And like I say, it's sad to see, still all this type of behaviors, things going on. But unfortunately, this is the way how a lot of people, how a lot of these groups, they operate. And, these groups, they had the mentality that they when somebody is very important for them, even on the bosses game, on the narco games, you see that, like when somebody's really, really super important for them, they have a lot of codes that they respect. You know what I mean? And one of them is like the family is very important for them. And when they trying to, like, what they did on June 10th was to honor the guy that got the lead last year by the police and the army. And like I say, they have a lot of codes that, like they protect your family. Even after you're gone, they protect your family. They will give money to your family. They will respect your family like you there. Like, like the person is still there, they will follow those codes. So that was the reason why, they did what they did in Cali on June 10th. And it's something, like I say, I not agree with. And apparently, that's what the police been saying, that, they blame these people for doing that in Cali, Colombia. But, for those who thinking, in coming to the country, and those who've been asking, it's safe to go over there, I would say yes. Even Cali, every time I'm in Cali, I feel safe. But Cali is a city that I always say, it's not for beginners. If you never been in Colombia, Cali shouldn't be your first option. I'm not saying that, you shouldn't go there, none of that. But like I say, I think first of all, you should get a taste of, Cartagena and Medellin, or either, Barranquilla, also Santa Marta, and then go to Cali, Colombia, because Cali is not a city for beginners. A lot of people over there, what I love about Cali is like there is a lot of black people over there, and I love seeing that over there. I never see more black people in my entire life there when I was at Petronio Alvarez Festival in Cali, Colombia. But like I say, like if you trying to go there, go ahead. Don't be afraid. Well, of course, you gotta just be careful because what just recently happened over there. But like I say, it's a safe. I never feel unsafe. I don't know if it's because I'm like a Spanish speaker and I'm Colombia, but I never feel unsafe over there. And I was like, in good areas of the time. I was with a lot of locals, a lot of people, and I never feel unsafe over there. But, probably my experience, ain't the same that gonna be for you. But like I say, if you are a beginner over there, you better, you do your own research or either go with a group. But, it's kind of like tricky to move around Cali if you like never been there as your first time because you can get boring. It's not a tourist city. Even, tourists go there, but it's not a tourist cities like Medellin, Cartagena, that, for example, if the Americans go there, they can find a lot of, convenience things. So then, they can go to a place, where they play American music, where they can get American breakfast, all of that. I'm not saying that Cali don't have those type of place, but they mostly, stuck to their culture. The salsa culture and stuff like that. So like I say, if you are a beginner in the country, I don't recommend you to do Cali as your first time. If you are not with either somebody from there or either somebody, who is been there already, so that way you can move around, more easy. So like I say, Colombia is not a safe country, so don't take it that way. Like don't sit down and just say, oh, the times, the narco times are back again, because Colombia is not safe for nobody. Colombia has never been safe for nobody. Everybody got it watch they back in Colombia. Colombians, tourism, everybody and their mama, they got to watch it back in Colombia. You got to watch out with, the person you're hanging out with. Everybody, you got to watch out every move that you do here, because like I say, nobody's safe in this country. Anything can happen at any time, any moment, any second, and you just got to be ready for that. You know what I mean? So like I say, Medellin, Colombia, never hear. So far, I haven't heard, what's going on over there. And Cartagena, we good too over here. Cartagena has never been like a spot like where, let's say the bad ones that we come here and fight, this has always been like, like a vacation spot. Like even if they here, like, I don't know if they have a code, like, or, we can fight in the tourist area in Cartagena, but outside of Cartagena, outside of the tourist area in the neighborhoods where I grew up, you find, you can find, all the time people like, fighting over there, over, who is going to take over the business, all of that. Long story short, like I say, if you're planning to come to the country, just come, and do your home research. In Cali, now it's kind of tricky. I'm not saying like, oh, Cali, you shouldn't go to Cali, none of that, because don't get me wrong, Cali is one of the best cities that I've been in Colombia, and I've been to a lot of cities in town, thank God, but Cali is just like really a beautiful city, it gives you like a real, like a real touch of what, about what's Colombia, the real culture of Colombia. Because if you come to Cartagena, if you go to the neighborhoods, you will see a real culture. But, like in the tourist area, it's all about tourism, but in Cali, like it's different because you have the opportunities, to hang out with a lot of locals, all of that, and also, have a great time. So like I say, for you going over there, just go ahead. Just understand the game, what's going on, what's been happening in Colombia, and what could happen also, because they just recently also almost delete a candidate, a senator in the country, Miguel Uribe Turbay. He almost got deleted by a teenager. He almost got deleted, when he was doing like a conference or something, he got deleted over there, and almost got deleted. But they say, like he's in a really bad condition now, and probably, I hope he make it, but they saying already that he probably will make it. They were blaming the president, all of that. Like I say, just a lot going on in the country, fellas. But apparently, they're opening an investigation and they will reveal who did it soon. They had, apparently, they has a lot of suspects. They have a lot of names. And like I say, the country's being hacked for a minute now. But like I say, you had to come to Colombia and understand how the country works out, like how's the culture. Don't let all these people there is a lot of people who travel. They travel from the couch to the bed. They never have left their country. But they just are, like YouTube travelers. They go to YouTube and they be watching like YouTube channels. They've been watching, they in all of this group, and that's how they got the information from. So they feel like, I know enough about Colombia and I can just Colombia because Colombia is this, Colombia is that. Don't let these people affect you. Trip. If you come in here, like I say, it's not because I'm a tour guy, but if you come in, just come, pack your things, come over and experience this by yourself. A lot of people, they have different perspective about how Colombia is because what they've been watching, through the screen, through social media. But when you come here, you will feel like it's different. Majority of people that I know that they didn't want to come to Colombia, now they in love with the country, they in love with the culture, they in love with the food, they in love with the women, they in love with the men, and like I say, once you come, when you have like all these negative things and you come either by yourself, with a group, I guarantee you, majority of the case, you're going to have a great and amazing time. So don't let, these comments affecting you. And like I say, understand what's going on in the country. This has nothing to do with tourism. These people that they've been like fighting, they've been in the wars, they will never involve tourism, unless tourists involve themselves. You know what I mean? Because these Colombian people, like I've been saying to a lot of people that they think it's a game, Colombians will never forgive you. Colombians, they are on the games that they are really bad ones. They will chase you, even they will chase you no matter what. No matter how far you go, no matter, if even if you get yourself, you moved, I don't know. But they will chase you until the end, because there is a lot of, this is something that I've been telling also to people. Like, when you come to Colombia, even like if you are a tourist, you are involved in nothing bad, you got to also be careful with the people you're hanging out with. There is a lot of locals, a lot of foreigners. They just want to be friends with the locals. There is a lot of locals that they've been doing crazy things. They've been involved in business, and they will never tell you. Majority in Cartagena, I'm very selective with the friends that I have. I make sure that they are not involved in nothing because I don't want to pay for something that I had never ordered. If I didn't order a hamburger, I don't want to pay for. And, Colombians have this mentality, like, if you there, they're going to do something and you there, you also getting that delivery. You getting the package too. You getting the order. You getting what your friend is getting for the same thing you're going to get. So like I say, you got to watch out with the person that you hanging out in Colombia because it also can affect you. Like I say, as a tourist, you can live in Colombia like 20 years, but you always will be a foreigner. That's the truth. That's a reality. So you got to watch out which you are, person you're hanging out with. Make sure, they are not in something weird, something illegal. Because if they are, and they're going to do something that he has to pay for, and you're there, now, like I say, you get in the order too. Burger with double cheese, double meat and chicken, and you getting your French fries too. They won't play games about that. So like I say, you just gotta be ready, for what to expect in the country, because this is not an easy country to drive around, to move around. Even for us, like I say, like Colombia is a rough country. And people that they just seem like this is a paradise, because of the woman, because of the food, because of the culture, because of the place, because of the beaches. But ain't like that, Even you can find the hell on the paradise. And Colombia is a mix it up, The paradise can turn into a hell in a minute. So, It's on you if you know, allow these things happen to you. But like I say, for those who've been asked, you know, it's safe to travel to Colombia. It depends where you go, man. If you go to the jungle, if you go to places that now they hot, ain't safe for nobody. Hey, it's not safe even for the locals. The locals trying to leave those places, but you're trying to go over there. So it's up to you. Depends where you go in Colombia. It can be safe. It can be bad. It can be horrible. It can be a mistake. It can become, you know, like a nightmare. So like I say, you know, depends. But those cities that I mentioned, you know, like between Cartagena and Medellin, you good. And even Cali too. Like I said, you just got to watch out what you're doing, man. You got to watch out what you're doing. You know, the movements you're doing, because Cali is not a city for beginners. There is no baby cities over there. You either got to be, you know, it's not like you got to be rough, but you got to use your common sense in Cali. You know, it's not a city that you just come, you know, shop, or, oh, you know, let me do this, let me do. Ain't like that. Ain't like that. And you got to learn. You got to learn how every city works in Colombia, because every city is different in Colombia. And I see that every city I've been to Medellin, been to Cali, I've been to San Andres, Colombia, I've been to Barranquilla, and all of them, they had different tastes. But, you know, like every country in the world, every city that you go is different. So you got to learn how to maneuver, and you're going to be good. Like I say, you're going to be good. So what's going on in the country is it's no more auditing than political problems. Political problems that, you know, everybody want to be in the power, you know, everybody want to be the boss, you know, and this has been in the table for a while. So don't be surprised about this. You know, like I said, this is heartbreaking because people will lose their life. But Colombians, they know what I'm talking about. You know, this is unfortunately the game that, you know, they've been playing for the longest here in town. And this is a war that probably a lot of millions of people, they've been losing their life in the country because of that war. And it's been in the table, and we're doing way better than before. We're doing way better than before. Before, I remember, like, the army used to chase people in the hood. They used to chase people in the hood. When I turned 16, my mom didn't want me to, like, stand up in the corners in my neighborhood, because they were just a random car. They just pull up in a truck, and they basically were like holding you. They would throw you in the car because you had to. It's not like you had the right to say no. You had to do the service for the army, because back then, you know, they were taking everybody and the mama, because we had to defend the country against these people, you know, that they were a lot too back then. A lot of them, you know, they've been changing their life, and now, you know, ain't like it used to be. Ain't like it used to be. Now you do the service, you do the police thing if you want, you do the army thing if you want to. You know, nobody's forcing you. But before, they were really forcing you. My mom all the time was like, don't stand on the corner, because they just pulling up in a minute. I remember, you know, a lot of mothers in my hood that were basically, you know, begging the army people not to take the son, but they were like, they gotta defend the country and sorry, but they had to. So, but now, you know, like, they don't do that no more. So, like I say, you know, if you take a look about Colombian history, we're coming from a long way. That is how to recover. And at the end of the day, listen, no matter the reputation that we had, but I will respect my country forever. On the 90s, when, you know, the guerrillas was in the best time, Pablo was in the best time, this country got hurt a lot, but they never gave up. We all did the corruption, you know, because this is a corrupt country. That's a reality. Majority of the problems, you know, come because of the corruption. You know, this is something that, you know, we can change. But at the end of the day, like I say, you know, the country never gave up, and, you know, they did their best. They did what they could, fighting with the corruption, you know, all of that. But like I say, fellas, you know, I hope one day this country gonna be calm and things, you know, gonna get better. I hope so, you know. I'm sorry, fellas, that I couldn't reveal, you know, a lot of names, all of that, but y'all know I'm Colombian, man, and I know what these people are capable to do. So I'm not giving papaya to nobody, you know what I mean? Because I'm here full time, so I gotta, you know, watch out with what I talk, even on the video, you know what I mean? But I was trying to post a video on the same day, but you know, I was like, let me just let the thing cool off so I can go ahead and make my video. But the reason, like I said, what I made this video is because a lot of people, they don't understand what's going on in the country. They're afraid to come. They feel like it's not safe to come visit Colombia at this point. But like I say, you know, everybody is doing their thing. Everybody's minding their own business, you know, all of that. And it is what it is, fellas. So I hope you guys like my video. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much. Thanks for everything. See you soon, guys, on the next video. This was Carlos, the Colombian guy.